2, 1, 2. What's up, everybody? This is Ibn Webb, Quran the Sun. It's another go around with this official thinks thing here. Essex County All Day Edition here. Uh, who I got here? Wow. Well, I kind of just get taken back a lot by a lot of people just giving their time or what have you here. But I got patriarch of a basketball family from Essex County here, and like I said, I'm just so delighted that he took time to just wanted to sit here and talk to me. Fortunate enough, even when I was younger, got the chance to have him coach me on the AAU squads or what have you here. So it's like great. It's humbling. Like I said, sometimes it's things you just take for granted. The people you know or what have you who's been in your life here, man. But you reflect as you get older, like damn, like I've been really blessed to just meet some great people, and Mr. Knight is one of them. So I'm looking forward to talking to him, have some fun, and just conversate. That's what it is. So just hold tight, everybody.
Hey, man.
Hey.
Could you see me, man?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
How you doing, man? It's great seeing you.
Likewise.
That's neither here nor there, man. It's good seeing you, and thank you, man. Thank you, the old guy.
Nah. Thank you. And like I know when we talked the other day, just something out of the blue as a hobby. I just kind of was just like, you know what? I'm just, people we stuck in these homes. I know things are opening up, but still in all, people are still home. And it was just like one of those things here. Like, let me just, just reach out to some people. Initially just started with like immediate family. Then I was just like, wow, I got a sports family as well too. Just kind of just people that I've whether been coached by, played with, admired, fans, whatever the case is. So I just start reaching out to those just in Essex County and just and this thing taking a life of its own.
Yeah, that's good then.
Yeah. And more of a conversation, just kind of a paying homage on my part here. And obviously when I thought of you, you came right up here, and that's why I reached out to Brev. It's just like anyway I could get a hold of Mr. Knight. And he obviously gave me the number. Got you here. We're here.
Whatever I can do to contribute, man, I try. Like you know how it is with these old these what do you call them, senior moments. We're beginning to have those right about now. So I'm glad you got a hold of me before I got totally engulfed in.
Nah, you look good. You look good. So I don't know how many moments you haven't, but you could have fooled me. Definitely could have fooled me here. So what I do, just some conversations, some questions to lead into some conversations, and
right.
One of those kind of things here. With that being said, it's just growing up for you. Just like how was it for you growing up?
My background is when I tell people my background, they look at me kind of strangely because I grew up. For the first 12 years of my life, I grew up in Georgia.
Okay.
And my mom, my family was a sharecropping laborer kind of people. And I grew up in Jim Crow, which was total segregation.
Segregation, right.
And then in the middle of the 50s, my family started to move away, and we moved to New Jersey in 1961. And, I started to meet people in New Jersey that was good to me and understood my plight, where we had come from, and they really made themselves, available to me, knowing that I didn't know anybody here in New Jersey, other than my family, and so people were very good to me, and that was one of the things that I always felt that I needed to kind of replicate that any way I could. When I had the opportunity to help someone to not remember how many people helped me along the way. So that and then I went to West Kenny Junior High School in Newark, and that was the only school I went to in Newark. And then when I went to ninth grade, I went to Seton Hall Prep, and then from Seton Hall Prep to Seton Hall University. Yeah. And that was a trauma because I came from all Black segregated school in the South. With 3 years removed, and I end up going to an all-white boys Catholic high school, Yeah. So that was like that was a culture shock right there in itself, man.
Nah, totally. You mentioned West Kenny Middle. Actually, my mother my mother went to West Kenny Middle. I know she's a few years younger than you, but yeah, she went to West Kenny Middle as well. And as you're just talking and sharing your story about the whole segregation, like, you know, my father, similar to you, he was in Oak City, North Carolina. So he was down there to give or take around the same age, and came up around 10, 11 years old. So I mean, so just to hear some of that, I just think about, you know, him sitting me down and talking to me about all those experiences. Obviously, you know,
Yeah.
something we take for granted, you know, the whole water fountain thing, and have,
Yeah.
you know, yeah, so he shares all of that stuff. And his summer jobs down there was picking cotton. That was his jobs in the
That's what we
summertime.
did. That's what we did. We raised cotton and corn and peas and peanuts and everything, man. And we
Yeah.
grew a lot of our food that we ate. So
Hmm.
you know, I was a working class family, man, you know, and our parents taught us how to survive, you know, and we never thought of ourselves as being poor, but we knew that you know, we was just a working class family because we always had food and some clothing and stuff to wear. And, you know, and we learned how to manipulate that system there until we could move on to something else. So it was a good experience. It was a good learning experience for me.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So you get up to North New Jersey here. Like, when you start getting involved with sports as a kid? Like, when did your interest in sports, you know, came about?
Well, I was interested in sports when we were in Georgia, but you know, we didn't have many opportunities to really develop that until I came to New Jersey. And then once I came to New Jersey, I met a guy by the name of Charlie Johnson, who
Okay.
ran a recreation program in the city of Newark. And he was like one of the first educators I met. And we would play every day in the playground right there. I lived in the projects, Hayes Home Projects,
Hmm.
right there in Central Ward. And so we had outdoor basketball court, and every day all the people in there, we would meet up there and we would play and play and play all day long. That's all we had. And then so Mr. Johnson said, well, listen, you know, if y'all want to play basketball, come. And I started teaching you the basic fundamentals of it, and we'll go from there. And so, and that was it. In West Kenny, you know, I ended up in the 7th grade making the team my first year there. And from there, I kept working on my skills, worked hard, and then I became very successful at West Kenny. You know, I held all the scoring records in the city, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And that was the start of my career, man.
Interested. Did you play any other sports besides basketball or
Yeah.
any interest?
Well, yeah. During the summertime, we played all sports. That was the thing that I say a lot of kids miss now, and they miss out on because we've compartmentalized
Right.
sport so much that you could only play one sport. When we were growing up, we had transitional sports where, like, if you played football, you know, you could wrestle or something like that. Or if you played basketball, you could play baseball in the spring.
Hmm.
Or the football players would play would participate in track and field. So we always was a multi-sport kind of person, you know. And so I played baseball. I ran track for 1 year at Seton Hall Prep, you
Okay.
know. And so I played tennis, not at school, but I was a real good tennis player. And then I transitioned from tennis to golf.
Oh, no. See, I didn't even know that. As far obviously the golf, we talked about as far as you about to go play some now, but even the tennis piece, interesting. And what event did you run as far as track?
I ran the 200, and then I ran the relays. On the during those years we had uh, the 200 yard. You know, we had yards then. You know, so I
Right,
ran
right.
that relay team. You know, and then I broad jump, what we call broad jump during those times, broad jump, and you know, so I had about 2 or 3 events that I participated in.
Interesting. Yeah, how do you get to Seton Hall Prep from West Kenny Middle?
Well,
What?
that's another interesting story because during our time at West Kenny, Mr. Johnson and a group of other Black educators and a guy by the name of J. Harry Smith, who became the president of Essex County College, and he was a political guy in Essex County. And he came to Mr. Johnson and said, listen, you know, we're talking about all of these schools, these private schools that are all white and there's no black students there and everything. It's time for us to break this mold. So he said, what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a kid who you think would go up to Seton Hall Prep and be able to live through that kind of environment, and at the same time be a good representative of the Black community in Newark.
Mm-hmm.
And when he said this to me, like, I was definitely not interested in doing that.
Yeah.
I wasn't at first. And then he said, Melvin, listen, this is a great opportunity for you. It's a great opportunity for your family. You know what I'm saying? If you go there and you're gonna meet people and you could play sports there, you get a chance to get out of the city, you know, and so I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So when I went to visit Seton Hall Prep that day and I came back, I was like, I don't know if I want to go up there, man, because I had to take a bus every day from down in the Central Ward. I had to go over and get on the South Orange Avenue bus, go past West Side High School, go past Vailsburg High School, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To get to Seton Hall Prep. And so, you know, once I went up there, I was like, I don't know, man, this is, I don't know nothing about Catholicism, you know, I'm a Baptist. And then it's all white, and then I'm like, and then it's all boys. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. But he told me what the values would be and how much it might open up the doors for other Black students to go there, and it had that positive effect, man. It really did.
Nah, just to be that in tune at such a teenage years, as far as to take that information and go with it. I mean, obviously it paid dividends as far as obviously during that time and even up to throughout your life now. But I just now, so you get there and you talk about the whole. How many Blacks were there when you?
When I went there that year, they recruited 2 other Black students from Newark. So at that time, they had a population of 3.
Interesting. Wow.
And from there, 2 of us stayed there for the entire time. And one of the other guys, he said, nah, he wasn't going to stay there, so he left. So 2 out of the original 3 that they recruited that year remained to graduate. And I'll be very honest with you. I was an A, B student at all throughout and I went to Seton Hall Prep, and all of a sudden I became like a D student, a DC student. And a lot of times people think that it has to do with intelligence, but it really doesn't. It has to do with preparation. And what would happen with me is we had at least 4 hours of homework every night. But think of this now. I had nobody at my house who could help me get through 4 hours of work. So my 4 hours may turn into 8 hours. My mom and dad, neither one of them had anything near a high school education. They both were, like I said, from where we came. So it was very difficult. So I never could finish. It was always like I was struggling to get through it. And that's why I say to people, it's not intelligence. It's a matter of what are your resources to help you get through these things. And so eventually I got some resources to help me out after school, and it made things a little bit easier. It made it not easier. It made it manageable.
Nah, I mean, you said a whole lot there. I mean, just in returns, in regards to resources here, and it's just interesting as far as again, I know we could take this convo a whole lot of ways, but I just think in regards to the curriculums, you just talk about the city versus, you know, obviously a preparatory private school, and just the vast difference that is in regards to not preparing you for, you know, high school, whatever the case may be. And when shamefully, it's still like that today. You know, as far as to go, the lack of resources in the inner cities, and then preparing kids as far as, has it gotten better? Probably a little bit, but just it's still ways to go.
Yeah, that's a battle that we're still fighting, and I think we're going to fight this battle for a while. You know, because it has gotten better, and I think that the kids that go to Seton Hall Prep today, the Black students, are more equipped than I was, because their parents are more educated. Their parents know how to get the type of resources that they need. Some of them have more financial support than I had, so they could send their kids to, you know, extra tutorial kind of thing away from from the high school if they needed. I didn't have that, but like I said, the community got together and they made it available for me to get through, because I was going to quit after my sophomore year. I was out of there
Yeah.
just because I felt like I was educationally, I was going to be a failure.
Mm-hmm. Well, that says a lot. It's a testament to you, the perseverance, and I'm sure you got that from your parents and your family. Like, no, you gonna stick this through. You started it, you gonna finish.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And now, how was you treated when you got there? Again, by the other students.
Well, I tell you, it was a mixed bag. It was a mixed bag when I got there. There were some white students there. There were students there who actually did not want me to be there. We went through that whole racial thing there. And even some of the faculty weren't willing, wasn't ready to accept kid coming out of Newark or
Mm-hmm.
kids out of Newark. Number one, they didn't think that we were prepared to be there. Number two, we weren't Catholic. And number three, it was, uh, is this going to be a trend now? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are we going to have to make this change? So it was very mixed. And I will say this, that after my second year, once I started participating in sports, then it became a more acceptable thing, because now those same people who resented me being there in the beginning, now they wanted to be rub shoulders with me because of the success we were having athletically, So that was now you say, well, is that a true friendship? Is
Right.
it one that's based on, what you have to offer and what I have to offer, the balance. So and it didn't bother me either way, because I knew what I was there for.
That's right. That's right. Interesting you say that, and obviously, um, you going there just obviously from your family, as far as what they've gone through and things that you saw, and you're also there, give or take, around the time the North Rights. Are you there
Yes,
around that time? So
yes.
imagine even you having to deal with that burden and going to school. I can't even imagine. As can't even imagine.
It was difficult. And the thing that I will say is this here is, by the time that I graduated from Seton Hall Prep, I can say that there was a lot of views had changed.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of the stereotypes that people had was beginning to be broken down a little bit, and yet it was still a tremendous amount of you could call it racism, and it was based on ignorance, and the ignorance was that I only have a idea of what Black people represent based on a stereotype.
That's right.
And the thing about it was, because they had an opportunity to go face to face and see who we were, that our values were no different than theirs. Our God was the same God that they was going to. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And our parents wanted the same thing for us that their parents wanted for them. Although we all had to take different roads, because they were privileged and we were so-called underprivileged.
Right. No, absolutely, absolutely. Now you mentioned starting to play sports in your sophomore. You weren't allowed to play freshman year in high school, or
But that's when I went there my sophomore year,
you went
because
your
I went
sophomore.
first through nine. I mean 7 through 9. I was at middle school, West Kenny Junior High School.
It went up to
And
ninth grade. Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Didn't know that. So you get
Mhm.
there, um, start just excelling right away, athletically.
Yeah, yeah. I had all 3 years I was there. I had 3 really good years
Mm-hmm.
athletically, and you know, people would accept you for that. Their families, now all of a sudden, you wasn't only dealing with the kid now. Now you
Right.
got to meet the family,
Mm-hmm.
mom and dad, because they all came out to see their kids play and watch their kids. So then they got to see and meet me, and they got to talk and see me. So therefore, it was oh, you know what? Oh man, this is a different perspective we have of what the Black family represent and who they are, and what they want for their kids, and they want the same thing. So the athletics definitely was a rewarding experience for me and for them also, in
Mm.
terms of learning culture.
Oh no, definitely. I think yeah, people start becoming culturally competent. As far as through sports. I mean, obviously, we know sports is a microcosm of life, in a lot of ways. No, absolutely. Yeah. Now, I know team wise, how did you guys do?
Well, we got better every year.
Okay.
I was there. Um, we weren't a great team, but we were a very competitive team. And the thing that was very interesting to me is that although we were a parochial school,
Mhm.
the thing that was fascinating to me was we played all of the high schools in Newark, with the exception of at that time it was Southside High School, which
Right,
became Shabazz.
Shabazz. Right.
But we played all of the schools in the city. So therefore, the other part of that is that they were now going into my territory, or they were now seeing my neighbors. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So we go when Central High School would come up and play us, and during that time, Central High School was probably the top high school in the state, and then we had West Side High School, and we had Weequahic High School, and they were #1 in the country during that time.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. My father, he went to week. He graduated '69, so he used to tell me about the Mo Laytons and all those guys. Yeah.
one of the greatest teams of all time, man. And
Hmm.
so we had those schools. We would go down and play East Side and Barringer, West Side. So like I said, therefore now they got to see black kids out of Newark that was great athletes, but yet they were great people,
That's
great
right.
human beings, and they could get to admire. Like they could now go back and say, "Oh man, I played against the best in Newark. I
Hmm.
played against we went, you know what I'm saying? So that also was another transitional kind of process of getting people to understand, you know, who the different races of people were as opposed to who you thought they were and the view that you had of who they were.
Absolutely. Yes. How was the feeling for you to get to go back and play people you been on the playgrounds with or what have you? There was I'm sure it was a level of excitement, and I'm sure on their end you got away. I'm sure I don't know if the traded comment might have came about or just obviously just poking
Well,
fun or just taking stabs because you left the city.
well, even I tell you this. One of the things that I said, and I forget about what year it was that they dissolved it. I thought the greatest damage done to Newark sports was when Newark allowed the state of New Jersey to break up the Newark School City League.
City League. Yeah.
The Newark School City League was probably the best basketball there was in the entire state. When you won the city championship in Newark, you knew that there was probably nobody else in the state that was better than you were. But the other thing that did was it created a camaraderie among kids that came from different parts of the city. We played against each other all summer long. We played together with each other on teams, on pickup games, on rec teams, and everything else. So when it came time for the basketball season, now you went to your high school and
Yeah.
you went to
Right.
your high school, I went to mine. We could compete against each other, but we competed against each other as friends.
Hmm.
And we wanted to beat your behind just to brag for bragging rights, but we didn't have those kind of problems with all the other nonsense that you see in sports today, where kids want to fight each other because
Yeah.
we were all friends, man.
Okay.
But the thing about it was, when I could remember one game we played Central, and Central had a great team that year, and they came up to play us at Seton Hall Prep, and at that time we played in the gym that was the university's gym. And we walked out on the floor, and like I was the only black kid on the Seton Hall Prep team. And then here's Central, their whole team is black, or everybody understand. So they came up to me and they said, "Mel, you might get a few points today, but ain't nobody else on here gonna get no points." I was like, "Nah, man, we gonna win this game." They're like, "Nah, you ain't gonna win this game, Mel.
Mhm.
I'm telling you right now." So it was that kind of camaraderie, man. And I think the kids miss out on that today, especially in the city, because they don't play, you know, they really don't play each other until they probably get to the county tournament
Right.
or something like that, because they're all in Iron Hills Conference and Mountain Conference and Colonial Conference based on the size of the school, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
Nah.
I think that was a detriment to the camaraderie we had in Newark during that time period, you know, within the schools themselves.
Interesting. You mentioned the karate. So what playgrounds, what parks were you playing at?
Well, during those years, we had a playground in Newark that was called Cleveland Elementary School,
Okay.
and it was on a Saturday during the summertime. On a Saturday, you could not play in there on a Saturday unless you had a record of accomplishment. You could only go there and watch.
That's all right. Yeah.
People came from all over. When I tell you all over, all the great players, I'm not only talking about the high school, I'm talking about guys that were in the NBA during those times, guys
Mm-hmm.
that was in the CBA, guys that was in the Eastern League, guys that was in college, all of your best high school players. They all came that on Saturdays during the summer, and when it was basketball season was over with, we would come to Cleveland. You had to get there early and sign your name on a sheet of paper. There was the first person there would take a rock and bring a sheet, and they'll put their name and they put the rock there. If you came, they sign up for them. So we got to play against the best. But again, you had to graduate. Like I couldn't go down there on Saturday and play. You had to go and show that you had accomplished enough to go down there and play on Saturday. So we Cleveland. Then later on, you know, we got to play in Elmwood Park in
East Orange.
In East Orange.
Mm-hmm.
We could go over to Weequahic Park and play. We could go over to at Ripple Field in Southside and play. And that's the other good part about it, man, is we travel the city during when the season wasn't. We would travel from neighborhood to neighborhood and pick up games and play across the city. So you had a chance to hone your skills. And so when you got to play basketball, you really didn't need a coach. All we needed somebody was to organize us and tell us out there and put us out, because we knew how to play the game. You know, we knew how to play the game. We just needed somebody as a coach that could put it all together as a unit so we can go out and play as a team. But in terms of fundamentals, everybody learned their fundamentals, man. Everybody.
Interesting you say that. And I think even back then, I'm sure getting park to park, whether you're walking or you're riding a bike, you figured out you just got there because you had to go play.
Exactly. And we didn't have any parents taking us here.
Right.
You know, we would get together and that's the beauty of it all is that we would get together with neighborhood guys. And we would meet each other like in the morning times at, like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning time. We'll meet each other and then we'll say, let's start our daily journey. Mm-hmm. And then we would travel throughout the whole city that day playing games. And during those times, I mean, you're not talking about no cell phones. You're not talking about we was out there in the streets all day with our group, and we knew when time to be home. We knew our parents knew who we were with. We knew whose house we were going to stop at. We stop along the way and pick up our guys that we were going, and we go play ball at this park. We'll come back and play ball at that park. Then we drop off, okay, man, I'll see you tomorrow. You drop him off at home, and we walk on to the next and drop him off at home, and then, we go home. But we travel that way, walking, getting on the buses, man. We didn't have a lot of money though in those days, man. So we would pool our money and we would go to the different bakeries and we'd buy like sodas and stuff, and we'd eat. We didn't go home. Mm-hmm. We didn't go home all day, especially during the summertime.
Absolutely. You figure it out. You split the candy, you do whatever it takes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Might even get a little slick in the store. You never know.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
We were, we had, and during those days in Newark, we had about 3 bakeries. So they would have like, you could go there and get day old, you go over and get day old in the day old store. Mm-hmm. And man, you can just clean up. You can get 6-pack of donuts and sodas and juice, and you know, and we'll take all that, man, and we go sit down and we ready for the rest of the day, you know. And we had all the bakeries and stuff like that, and little corner stores. So we knew how to survive until we got home. But the other thing about it is, if I went to your house and stopped, your mom would say, "Y'all sit down. I'm gonna give y'all something to eat."
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's the way we grew up, man. It was camaraderie, it was friendship, it was a lot of love, and it was an everlasting kind of relationship, man. You know, and you know, like I go back right now, some of the guys invite me. A lot of people think I graduated from Southside High School because I spent so much time over there. And they have a alumni association. They have a group of guys probably in there, some of them probably right now in their 80s, 70s and 80s. They still meet once a month at a local restaurant. Since COVID, they might have, you know, changed it a little bit. But before COVID hit, these guys still met once a month. All of them came together. And they always invited me, man. It's like, man, we know you didn't go to school in Newark, but you a Newarker.
Yeah,
And
we'll give you a pass, yeah.
give you a pass, man. You know? So that was the greatness of growing up in Newark, man. Doing those, you know.
No, absolutely.
We had great role models too. Our teachers were great role models, man. They were bent on making sure that we did all of the right things so that we could get an education, so that we could utilize our sports skills and talents, man, to help us financially move on to colleges, because we knew, you know, the parents couldn't afford to pay tuition and all that kind of stuff. So they gave us the basic structure that we need in order to be successful, man. And that was across the board. So we had great role models, man. We had
It sound like it. It sound like even with the teachers, you know, it just sound like this from hearing from you. And again, like I said, I feel I'm also sitting with my father. I just hear like if it got to the parents, it must have really been a problem. Usually the teachers took care of everything. Yeah, took care of everything.
Well, that's the other thing. That's the other thing that we we really hurt our kids, and we hurt our school system when we got rid of. And you grew up mostly in East Orange, right?
Orange.
Okay.
Yes.
All of them always had great recreation programs after school. We had great recreation programs. The thing that made our recreation program so great, and you probably remember this, the people that ran the recreation program usually was a teacher at a school, or a phys ed teacher, or one of them. They ran the recreation program. So therefore, they had a check and balance on you from 8 o'clock in the morning to the gyms closed or the playground closed 9 o'clock at night. So we always had somebody that was going to give us some structure. Or we stepped out of line, they would say, "Hey, listen, you know you're out of line. You can't, you can't come here and do that. That's not the way we operate here." So that was a big mistake when we got rid of the after-school recreation programs. During those times that was mostly manned by your educators as a part-time job. And man, when that happened, you saw the negative after effect after that, and I thought that was something that somebody should have really thought about, how beneficial that had been for so many years for all of our kids, man, in order to be successful.
Nah, totally. Like I said, it's definitely missing, and there's definitely a gap. There's a gap with that, you know, from keeping those staffs around and just, you know, being able to fund obviously those after school programs. Like I said, a lot of stuff has disappeared, you know, throughout the time. And I always joke, and I never want to sound like the grumpy old uncle as far as complaining about what's going on. I know some things are different, which actually some things are better, but again, that core and that foundation of a lot of stuff is totally we're missing. We're definitely missing.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, and if you think about Orange, you go over to Central Playground. You go around to Perot Street, right there with the center that was right there. You know what I'm saying?
Friendship Center, right?
Yes. Man, when you went in there, you were gonna have to be on your P's and Q's. You couldn't go there and any of these places and act like you were just, just a hooligan. There was some kind of respect that you had to show to everybody in order to stay in there. And I think that we're missing a lot of that. Those kind of programs that were so beneficial to the growth, man, of our youth, man. And I don't think that they could be put back in place right now, because there's a different mindset right now on how we raise our kids, and
Mm-hmm.
and and I don't think that anyone any longer would would just turn their kids over again back to the system that we grew up in.
Yeah. No, no, definitely. I definitely some a lot of truth to that there. I know obviously you mentioned going over to Seton Hall University. Was there any other colleges you were considering when it was that time?
Yeah, there was a number of schools that had recruited me, and again, even my family economically was one of the reasons why I was very concerned about where I went to school.
Mm-hmm.
And my parents were older parents. My mom had me when she was like 42 years old, and so they weren't young. And again, uh, we financially, they couldn't afford for me to go any place away from home, because I was concerned about, if I went far away, how would I get back home for Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
How would I get back home for the holidays? If something happened to my parents, what would I do to get back home? How would I be? So with that, it was very easy for me to say that I had to find some place that's close by here to go to school, so that I'd be close to my parents. And so therefore, I all the time I was going to go to Seton Hall University for that reason, and that reason alone. And at the same time, I figured that there were so many people in New Jersey that have paved the way for me, that this year also would give me uh, an opportunity to stay in the community, to grow here, and at the same time, perhaps work here and live here. And it turned out just that way. So in the long run, I think I made a great decision, and it worked out absolutely fantastic for me.
Yes, yes, yes. Now you go to college. You mentioned the transition just academically and socially from middle school to high school. How was it from high school to college for you?
Well, I went into Seton Hall Prep in 1967, and the riots, don't forget, in Newark had just happened.
Right.
And so, everything was very tense. Everybody was very concerned about Seton Hall, and there was a lot of racial problems,
Mm-hmm.
lots of racial problems we had at Seton Hall during that time, uh, in terms of being accepted on campus. And Seton Hall was just making the transition also from like almost like an all boys school, and then there were like, I think when I went there to my first year, there may have been either 10 or 12 black students on campus. And my first year there, um, the next year, we had a great uh, surge of black students that came on campus through the newly created EOF EOP program.
EOP, yeah.
And so during that time, we got about 100, which was like the college was like, whoa, man, 100 black students just came in there. And at first, they only wanted to accept them as if though they were a program at Seton Hall University, but not a Seton Hall University student.
Mm-hmm.
We had to fight for that, man, to make sure that, like, whoa, man, these are students right here on campus. No, these are Seton Hall students. They should have
That's
Seton
right.
Hall ID and everything else. So,
Absolutely.
so we went through that, and from that we formulated the Black Student League. So that we would have a voice on campus that represented black students and what the issues were that we had and that we wanted the college to address. So there was a big transition that we had going into Seton Hall University, and we demanded certain things And we was very successful in getting a lot of changes to be made at Seton Hall in that next 4 years.
Interesting you say that because again, you go not even 5 minutes away, you in Newark, like it's a whole nother world. So interesting.
Yes, yes, we had a very very active, man, a very constructive Black Student League with some very very good leadership, man, and we demanded that the college had to start to start to look at their relationship with the Black community. Like
Absolutely.
you're because don't forget the back door of Seton Hall University is Newark.
In the
You open
Villsburg section, right?
Yeah, you open the back gate and you're in Newark. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? And so therefore we said, hey, there has to be a better relationship with Newark. And we had an opportunity to do that during my 4 years at the university, man. We were very, very much uh, made that a part of our educational process, is that we were going to make people aware of the fact that, Seton Hall is that you have to open your doors, and you have to be a part of. You have to take some interest in the community. You have to put some kind of investment into the university, and which they did. They did.
And I think probably basketball, I'm sure, helped you as far as to have a voice. I mean, I think you had the voice regardless, but I'm sure obviously that was a vehicle that you was able to use to help promote that and other things when we're talking about race and just issues that you probably experienced on campus.
Yes, it was, and from that I think the recruitment of Black students in terms of sports took on a new life.
Hmm.
Uh, we increased the number of players on the basketball team, both men and women. Our track program turned completely around. We hired a Black coach in track and field, head coach. So administrators, we demanded that we had administrators, and we had more administrators at the university then, and we had more faculty at the university during those years than we have there now,
Mm,
because we demanded that.
yeah. No, that's all right. I mean, I never knew this, and this is great to just even hear. I mean, obviously the basketball and everything else here again was your vehicle, but in the same breath, this all the other stuff. Obviously, there's these achievements and these crowning moments in your life as far as just it's helping as far as the university and kind of like I just mentioned the whole color issue and having to open their eyes. I mean, because again, like we wasn't going nowhere. If anything, we going to infiltrate this campus even more as far as with more students and more productive people and citizens in this world. And we're going to do it coming through Seton Hall. That's great.
Well, the thing about it is, we were fortunate enough at that time that we had the new president at Seton Hall at that time was a priest, but he was a priest that understood what our plight was. He
Hmm.
understood what our issues were. So therefore, he was willing to listen to what our thoughts, what we thought were issues that was important to us in terms of who was on campus, how students were going to be recruited on campus, what kind of support program they were going to get while they were there,
Hmm.
and at the same time, the piece that I said to you about the community. Seton Hall had to make a commitment to the community, and
Sure.
we had the president at that time was a guy by the name of Monsignor Fay, and he made a tremendous effort, uh, commitment to Newark and their programs. So those were great years for me, and athletically, we were competing in great competition against great Catholic schools during those years. Were probably the top schools in the country during those years. You're looking at the Villanovas
Hmm.
and St. John's, and the Manhattans, and Holy Cross, Boston College,
Yeah.
Providence. Those were all Catholic institutions, And so I was playing against some, had a chance to play against, all those great schools and with great athletes and great players. So, it was, it, to tell you the truth, even I felt like I was so blessed that when I moved to New Jersey, that I met people who had grown up uh, with the same kind of background that I was coming from. And
Okay.
by them understanding where I was coming from, they all formed a support group for me and my family throughout my whole life. And so that's why I think that every step of the way that I could look at and see where there's some success, I can name a person who took me to the next level, or a group of people that helped me get to the next level and the
Hmm.
next and the next level. It was never me. It was a lot of people, man, that made that happen.
Nah, the old it takes a village. I mean, I know it's an old adage, but it applies. It
Yeah,
totally applies to a lot of us. Nah, definitely. And now, even with the basketball, did you have pro aspirations?
I did. I really, and the reason why I had that is because, as I was saying to you before, during the summer months, I got a chance to play against
Hmm.
one of the pro players. Like during those times, like this, going back into the old school, you're talking about guys like Cleo Hill, who was a legend in
Yeah,
sport.
I just talked to his son, Cleon, just a few weeks ago. So nah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely, probably one of the greatest players that was blackballed from the NBA. When I tell you about greatness, this guy was held all the records until Earl Monroe broke them at Winston,
Winston Salem, yeah.
you know. And then we had Al Attles. Al Attles was with the Golden State Warriors during those times, man.
Went to
Jerry,
Requay, right? Is that
yeah,
Requay? Yeah.
yeah, Jerry Govan out of Jersey City. We had Herman Helicopter out of New York City. All these guys used to come over and play. They would bring a team over from New York and from Philadelphia, Baker League, and all that stuff, man. And after I got a chance to go down, I got a chance to play against all those guys in the summertime.
Hmm.
So I knew what it took to get there. So at Seton Hall, I figured like I'm going to get a chance to play pro basketball. But the one thing that that I forgot was that the body had to stay healthy.
Okay.
And then during my college career, I started having all type of leg injuries, and from there it just cut my career very short. I only played 50 college games during my entire career.
Hmm.
Based on injuries, I had two knee surgeries. I missed about 10 or 12 games with a broken ankle, But the thing about it was, those days that I got out there and play, I always try to play with a level of excellence, man. So
Absolutely.
I didn't play, 100 games, but my 50 games were always competitive, man. I was always
Hmm.
competitive. So, I got, after I graduated my senior year, I didn't play my whole senior year because I had the knee injury. But during the time I was doing camps and clinics and stuff, I had a chance to meet some of the coaches. And I met the coach that was the assistant coach at that time that was with the Buffalo Braves in the ABA.
Hmm.
And he and I was at camp one year, and he said, "Mel, you know what? I watched you all through high school, man. Watch you through college." He said, "I know you had a lot of injuries." He said, "But I tell you what, if you get yourself in shape, I'll give you a shot. If you can get your legs and stuff." So that summer, even while I was at camp, every day I'd do camp, and at night I would go do my personal individual stuff. And the
Okay.
next day I would just be all ice, and just ice down. And I got to at the end of that week and a half, I said, "That's it." I said, "Coach, I appreciate the opportunity, but can't do it. I can't do it." And from that point on, even I gave up basketball. I never played another organized game of basketball.
Interesting.
I
Wow.
played I played no summer leagues. I gave it up. I think that was like in about 1976. And I just said, like, as much time as I played in to be the best that I could be, I didn't want to become a basketball bum where all those guys that I had played against successfully now had a chance to say, I kicked Mel Nice behind, man.
Oh
so,
no, absolutely. It's a lot of pride with that. Yeah, no, absolutely.
so I
Uh,
would, so that's why I enjoyed the coaching and teaching and clinics and stuff like that, trying to help somebody else to be the best that they could be, and that was my that was always my ambition, man. Is like, I would play a little shoot around, a little horse, you
mhm.
know, but instead of like going out trying to play basketball, nah,
Yeah.
no.
Well, when did you get the coaching bug as far as the coach?
Well, I always loved coaching, man. I always loved teaching. And I'll be honest with you, you know what? I would rather be in the gym teaching than I would coaching. I love
Okay.
teaching. I, I,
Mhm.
I I could go in the gym all day long and just teach fundamentals and put together, offenses and defenses and transition. And I always say that I always try to judge a coach by the adjustments that they could make during a game.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
uh, the preparation you could do, you can get in there and you could prepare all day long. But if somebody now says, I scouted you, I got your whole game plan, I know every one of your players, and we're gonna run this here to counteract whatever you do successfully. And I always look and see, can this guy now make an adjustment based on his talent and what
Mhm.
the other person is doing? And
Mhm.
I've always loved to be able to teach kids the fundamentals of the game, the nuances of the game. And I love that a lot better than coaching. And I always figured, like, I always say this here, if you have to go into a game teaching during the game, then your preparation wasn't ready. When you coach, you should be going to coach, and that is to make adjustments, make substitutions,
Mhm.
uh, evaluate the other team and players. And so I love that. And so I had a chance to coach at Essex County for, about 4 or 5 years. I coached at Seton Hall for about 3 years at the university before I left.
Okay.
And then I coached a year at Columbia High School. And and after
That's
that,
right. That's right. I remember. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I enjoyed doing the camps and clinics, man. I love that. I like to see a kid grow. I like
Mhm.
to give a kid a basic, and that's the way we grew up. I grew up like every day going to the gym, and the guy would say, "You got to work on this," and I saw my growth, and that's what I like to see. I like to see kids grow and get to the bed where they could play basketball, not not mimic what a coach tells them to do, but
Mhm.
actually go out and play the game and enjoy it.
Yeah, totally. Totally. I mean, when you speaking of sports, we talking about sports. What has it given to you that's stuck with you to this day?
Well, uh, sports has been very instrumental in teaching me self-discipline.
Okay.
It taught me, how to deal with people. You know, it it taught me, man, how uh, uh, to just look at society as a whole. Like when you take your team, the guys that you're a member of in that team, and you look at them like it's a family, and
Mhm.
then you say, you got five probably different families here, and that's the thing that was always impressed with me. I said, you got five families here, you know, and if you could learn how to get along with them, look at multiply that. There's three in this family, two in this family, five in that family. You now is dealing with like 15, 20 people. And so
Mhm.
that becomes your network around. So I learned how to network with people. I learned how to deal with people. I learned, and the other thing it did was it taught me how to evaluate people.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
You know what I'm saying? Uh, At the same time, it taught me how to also accept other people' differences.
Mhm.
You know, you accept their differences, and you live with that. You say, well, they're different. how can that benefit me? You know, how can that benefit our relationship? I have, when you talk about this, I have 5 guys right now, 5 families that we've been together right now for 50 years.
Mm.
And until COVID came, we would take a weekend every year and we go away.
Okay.
Just, you know, we still did that until COVID hit. And it was a great thing to go back and we said, man, you know what? How in the hell did we manage this? You know, what do we do for each other and with each other that we still have this vibrant kind of feeling for each other's family and each other's kids and that kind of thing. So I think it just gave me an opportunity to grow, expand, that I may not have ever been able to do. I may have done it later in life, but it would have been a lot more difficult if I had to go step by step by step by step. I probably could have gotten through the process, but at what age, what stage? Whereas now I got to go and do things that opened the doors. It gave me opportunities to go and see things. Like for instance, you know, when at Seton Hall University, when we travel first class. You know, we went and stayed in hotels. I couldn't afford to stay in those hotels.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But then it gave me an idea to say, oh, okay, this is how some other people are living. This is the way I want to live. This is the kind of thing that they're experiencing. This is what I want to experience. How do I get this? How do I get my family to understand that there's another way of life that's a little bit different than what we grew up? And everything that we did was hard. You know what I mean? Even everything that we did was hard, man. We had to work hard at everything that we did. So this here gave me an opportunity to say, there's another way to do this, man. You don't have to do it. It's not that hard. You know, you had to ask somebody else, like, hey man, give me a chance to do this here. You know, give me an opportunity to try to do this. So it was athletics and basketball, man. It opened a lot of doors. It gave me a lot of opportunities to learn, to grow, to experience things, to meet different people. Even I went to clubs. When I say clubs, I went to meetings of guys at their country clubs where I had never even seen that kind of lifestyle. Never even seen it. You know what I'm saying? And I could go there and I probably didn't have enough money in my pocket to pay the valet guy, you know.
Right.
But nobody knew that but me, because I was there, you were there, you may have been a millionaire, but I'm right there too. So you don't know who I am. You got to accept me for who I am at this particular point in time in these circumstances. So it provided me with a lot of that, man.
No,
That.
no, absolutely. To your point, like I said, millionaire or next to you, y'all both at the same place at the same time.
Yep. Same time.
Mm-hmm.
You probably looking at me saying, well, who is this guy? Why I don't know him? You know, or how did he get here? You know,
Totally.
So those are some interesting experiences that I had that was provided in the beginning through athletics. And then, you know, I had the opportunity to grow it. And then I wanted those things for my kids. And just like, you know, you wanted those things for your kids. And then we just kept on mushrooming out till we got more exposure and more opportunities and more experiences. And, you know, I think right now the problem is people see us growing as a race. And I think the big push right now is people saying we can't let them go any further, because now it's like, you know, the political side of it.
Yeah.
You know, are we going to be able to control the politics? Are we going to be able to control the finance? Are we going to be able to control the elected officials? You know, so all those things right now is the progress that we are making. We haven't gotten there yet, and people are trying to suppress that again. Don't think it's not. That suppression is right there, and we have to keep fighting, man, to get our equal get our equal share of everything.
Yeah, but obviously to your point, even uh, fighting's in our blood. You know what I mean? And I think it's how you fight. I
How
think
you,
it's how you fight though. But fighting's in our blood, so so that ain't gonna stop. That ain't gonna stop. But I think it's just obviously being fighting smarter.
yes,
So yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
yeah,
I
yeah.
just wanted to, and I know you mentioned the coaching and all that. Left out left out some AAU moments as far as as far as coaching. And I know that was an experience for myself here. And I know interesting you talk about what sports has led as far as in regards to, and you had the opportunity, to coach, obviously the coach's son, but also and a bunch of his knucklehead friends, as far as with the North Rams, that
Yeah.
opportunity and everything, and obviously being able to see the world. And I mean, you travel, those forever hour rides down to Tennessee and
Yes.
out to Vegas and all that stuff that we did. I mean, it was a joy. It was
Oh,
definitely
hey, Eben, those were, the great thing about that. And if you think about it right now, and you could relate to this, you could relate to this. The thing that was so great about those years and those moments were the fact that all of our kids came from within a 5 to 12 mile radius.
hmm
They were neighborhood kids, they were community kids.
yeah,
They were like, we took what we had and we tried to make the best out of it. You know what I'm saying? We did, and if you go and look right now at AAU, and then we took our kids and our teams and our neighbors and we went and we played whoever we played. AAU today, think about it. There's not a single team that's made from a community group. Everybody now says, who's the best forward in the country? Send them a ticket and tell them to meet us at Newark Airport.
right.
Who's the best guard in the city, in the country? Hey, send them a ticket, tell them to meet us at Newark Airport. So now they get the best of everybody and they bring them together. But the difference in that is that none of those kids are really playing for the team. They're all playing for their own individual recognition.
Right. Right.
And you're giving them a chance to sell themselves. So they're not coming there to make you better. Like all of you guys, when you was playing AAU, we work to make each other better, make the team better as a learning experience. The
hmm
AAU kids today, they are hodgepodge of kids that came together. It's like all-star teams, So those kids are not really learning about each other than what they read. They looked at their video,
hmm
uh, stuff like that. But we had our teams were made up of community kids that
Yes.
knew each other, knew their families, appreciated each other. We may have had our little squabbles with each other and
Right.
things like that, but it was a real community effort. We did our fundraising together, to get the money to go and buy the uniforms and
right.
pay the
Right.
pay the fees to get into the tournament. All of that was done by us. Now you got Nike and Under Armour and Fubu and
hmm
Puma and all of them dumping big money in there with kids. So it and again, I think that is another missing link with our athletes today, is that they really don't get a chance to learn each other as a community, you know,
Yeah.
and you learn how to live within a community. And now I think that's a negative part about it. That whole AAU thing, but that might be sour grapes because that's the change in time.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Right.
That's what it has evolved to.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way everybody do it. So that's the way I do it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm just saying is I think that there was so much more of a benefit the way it was when you had real, true individual teams that was coming together to represent their communities.
No, absolutely. I mean, like everybody has a team now. It was only a selected few back then. It's
Yes.
like everybody has a team now. And to your point, flying people in and out. I mean, was it done back then? A little bit, but now it's the norm. It's pretty much the norm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You mentioned the sponsor, and I think the whole community piece. Even when I played with you here, it was that, and obviously it was that friendship and folks that I still obviously talk to this day. I mean, it might be a huge gap in communication, but when you do pick up the phone or reach out to them, it's just like this. You just pick up where you left off at.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I see families now, man. I go to church, I see guys now with their family, and they're
Hmm.
saying, Mr. Knight, this is my family, and hey man, he used to be my coach, or he lived
Yeah.
around the corner for us. So I play
Hmm.
with his son, that there stuff. I still see that, and like I live in Pennsylvania now, and that's one of the things that I truly miss. I truly miss the fact that we had a community, man. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? We had a neighborhood.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
think about it, Ibn, we had neighborhoods, man, where you could walk down the street, your best friend lived there, and somebody else lived next door, and somebody else lived over there, and you knew everybody on that whole block.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that the kids today is missing, man. We don't have neighborhoods anymore. You
Yeah.
know, where kids get to know, walk out every day, walk to the park with somebody, walk to school with somebody. Everybody get up, go to school now. Mom, time to go to school. Jump in the car. Let's go. Mom, I got baseball practice today. Okay, I'll pick you up at 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
So you miss you miss you. I think kids are missing that learning how to share at a young age, learning how to respect at a young age, learning how what camaraderie is, learning what teamwork is. So I
Hmm.
think all that's missing right now. Survival skills are going out of the window now. Because everybody's so protected, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, society has just changed that way, but I just think it's just something that kind of a setback to the growth and development of our kids from the youth through adulthood.
Right. No, definitely. And to your point, I mean, I know some things do progress, but some of those core things you're just talking about are missing. And as a parent now, it's kind of like it's a little scary thinking about it. Obviously,
It is.
it is. And again, for my little one here, just to kind of just think about like what's going to happen. And obviously, I had a late. It's interesting you mentioned that about your mom having you late. I had my little one at 40. So again,
Mhm.
it's just kind of like I need
Yeah,
to just get everything to her, because you just never know.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
That's it. I was that late. I was the last one, man. I was the last one of 12. I was the youngest of 12. My mom
Ooh.
and dad had 12 kids.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
know, and
Wow.
so we what we had was a family. That's what we had. That's what we cherished most. Was we were a family.
That's right. That's right. I'm just talking not only to yourself but other folks that I've talked to. It's just one thing I like to just do have some fun with as far as just putting you on the spot with some direct questions here. Just have a little
Okay.
fun with you here.
Okay.
When you're in New Jersey, when you are in New Jersey, the Parkway or the Turnpike when you're driving,
Parkway.
Parkway. When you're in New Jersey, what's your favorite place to eat?
New Jersey, favorite place to eat. Wow, Ibn. It used to be like the peppermint.
Uh huh. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I remember obviously peppermint. I mean, now you just go to eat, or you going there for some comedy later on, or what we
We
doing?
did, we did everything there. We could eat,
Mm-hmm.
comedy, meet
Yeah.
friends. Everything was right there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Absolutely. Now, being a North guy, Bragman's or Cooper's?
well, overall, Bragman was it, but Cooper became like you got to go to Cooper's, man.
Cooper's. Okay. Okay. I'm a Bragman guy.
Yeah,
Pastrami all day.
Bragman was it, man. They're still there doing it too.
Yeah. Nah, absolutely. Best game you ever played at any level?
Probably from the standpoint of accomplishment, uh, everybody talk about the weak weight game
Okay.
as being probably the best. But I think about the game that probably meant most to me, man, is we had a chance to win the state championship in Atlantic City, man, and we ended up losing it, man. And that was something that I always wanted, man. I wanted to win a state championship. Because I had never won a county championship, you know, never won a high school, but I just wanted to win the state championship, you know. And we lost it that day, man. And I thought I played like the best game of I could play. But if you look at from a success standpoint, people would say, no, the week weight game was probably the best. But that was probably the biggest upset in the history of basketball. We could have played week weight 100 times more with their second team, and we couldn't have beat them.
Now, what happened that magical night?
At week weight?
Yeah.
The coach, you know what? Week weight underestimated us in the sense that our coach came up with a strategy that he knew that would frustrate them. We had no shot clock during those days. So he went to a slowdown and said that we're only going to take shots that we can make. And that's what we did. He said, and he ran this entire offense through me that day. It was like, okay, Mel, we're going to screen everybody and we're going to get you the open shot. And when we get you the open shot, whether you make it or miss it, you got to take it. And that was what it was, man. It was like the strategy worked perfectly. They were anxious about, because they were up and down. They were probably averaging, I don't know, 80 to 70, 80 points a game as high school, man. They were that good. Tell you something, man, they were that good.
Yeah.
And we held the ball and frustrate them. And when they would make a mistake, we took advantage of it. They make a mistake, we take advantage of it. You know, and we end up winning that game, man. You know, it was like a 30, 35, 36 game or something like that. And I had like 28 or 29 of the 35 points, you know. But honestly, this is the God's honest truth. They could have taken the next 5 guys off the bench. The next 5 guys off the bench was better than my team was. That's how good they were. And 5 of those guys, 4 of those 5 guys went into the NBA.
Now you talk about coaching earlier. Just that night, the week where coach didn't make the adjustments. You talked about it earlier.
Yeah. He didn't make the adjustments. And we held the ball, and we only took shots that, you know, if they double me so high and they ran at me, and I had the guy that was playing, Dana Lewis, who was 6'10", he was only 5'10". And, you know, they would run at me and he would be standing underneath the basket. I might just throw him the ball over there and he'd get a layup, you know. So out of that, we may have gotten 10 points out of doing that. But then out of the 30 some points, I had like 28 or 29 out of the 36, you know. But it was all behind like screens. The guy would double screen this one, next guy pick up, screen him. And I just had open jump shots, man. I just felt like at home, man.
Yeah.
So, but you know, that was what everybody think was like the highlight of my career. And it was, because it became the crowning moment. Everybody said like, wow, man, first game that Weequahic has lost in 2 years. They was upset today by Seton Hall Prep with Mel Knight, man, you know. And that was all the headlines for the next week and the next month and the next year and all that. So, but me, we played down at in the state finals, Atlantic City. We lost that game, man. And that was, to me, was like, I thought I played my heart out, the best game I played all around.
Now, you played down Atlantic City or you played Atlantic City? Who did you?
All during those years, the state tournaments was held at Atlantic City.
Okay.
We played a school by the name of Trenton Cathedral. Later on, it became Trenton Catholic.
Okay. Was it you guys lost big, or was it a close game? Or?
It was a close game all the way. You know, it just that you know, they were a better team than we were.
Okay.
But we just played like the best game that we could play, to be in the game and then to have a chance to perhaps win it at, you know, at some particular point in time, you know. And it was one of those games that I just wanted to win. I
Yeah.
wanted to win that game.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of teams, best team you ever been on?
Man, let me just say this. I didn't have good teams.
Okay.
High school was a challenge. College was a challenge
Mm-hmm.
because everybody we played was better than us. But probably best team we played that year was probably like St. John or Villanova. Villanova and St. John's that year was probably the two best teams, man. They had All-American Howard Porter playing for
Okay.
them. And then St. John's was loaded, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
Bill Winnington, all them dudes had a chance to go into the NBA.
Yeah. No, definitely. Now you mentioned in the playground, Cleveland playground, correct? Is that?
Yes.
Now my question to you about that: if you was to, in your era, go back there, take a starting five with you to play anybody that came into that playground in your era, who would it be?
Who would I take with me?
Who would take with you?
Ooh, man, that's hard, boy. Hey, the city was loaded doing that, man. City was loaded. We had George Reynolds.
Okay.
Who went to Houston. He was there with Elvin Hayes, and then when they upset UCLA.
Okay.
Wow, man.
That's one.
You say from my era, right?
You're from your era.
We had a guy by the name of Key.
Key. Okay.
Out Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy that was, you probably heard of Ron Carnegie. He was
Heard the name.
all everything, and Mama led the state in scoring and all that stuff, man. Charlie Chambers out of Southside High School, and then you had a boy by the name of McDowell out of West Side.
Out of West Side. Okay.
So what I did is I just try to get one out of each school, but then I didn't even get over to say Mo Layton, and that's why I say it would be so. Man, it was just.
Yeah.
The city was loaded then, man. You could pick any of those kids, man. And
now you play with
most talented guys coming out of the city during that time.
Now you play down, and do you guys get off the court that day? Do y'all lose with that lineup you just gave me?
Oh, that lineup? Yeah, you get beat, man. Shoot.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Those days, man. You weren't. Everybody else was gonna pick the next guy that you didn't get. That was as good as the guy that you
just
picked.
as good. Yeah.
It was that the competition was that good.
Mm-hmm.
That was a great. Like I said to you, you could go down there on a Saturday. You'll find 5, 6, 7, 8 NBA players there. You would go down there, you would find 5, 6 All-American. During those times, you had like Pembroke Burrows, Jerry, out of what you call the lefty kid guy. Oh my goodness, came out of Jacksonville, was playing there. You would have Herman Helicopter that was a legend out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
You had, you just had so many great players that was there that on a Saturday that if you lost, you might as well, unless you was a great player
mm-hmm.
and you lost, your team lost, you might as well just say, well, I'll see y'all next week.
Yeah.
unless somebody said, I got 4 and Ibn, we need you, Ibn, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they had guys waiting there that had signed up to play, and that would go on from like about 11 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Every Saturday.
No, that's all right. That's all right. This one might be tough. Best play you've ever seen. It don't have to necessarily have to make the league or anything.
Listen, I had the opportunity to play with Dr. J.
Okay.
And honestly, I thought that he and Nate Archibald at that time was probably 2 of the premier players I had ever seen play the game, man.
Okay.
I mean, Doc could do everything.
Yeah.
He was just fantastic, man. He was unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So doing that, I would play. I'd say Dr. J.
Dr. J. And even I know because he went to University of Massachusetts too. So
Yeah,
and he didn't even get to show off everything he could do there.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I played with him in the Rucker tournament. I played on his team in the Rucker tournament, and I only played one game over there in the Rucker tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I never went back again. And the reason I didn't go back again is because that day I played and I got in which was a clean play. I got into a little, little tussle with Nate Archibald.
Okay.
And in New York at the Rucker League, that was like, man, you might not get out. You might not get out of New York.
Right. Yeah.
and Doc said, hey Nate, man, you know the guy didn't mean to elbow you, man. You know, you faked him. He went up for a shot, and I like caught him with an elbow. And he like a little bleeding, and then everybody knew they was going. Everyone. So
Need security to get up out of there. You need police escorts to get out of there.
Let me tell you how I got out of that, Edmund. The guy took me out of the game, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sitting on the bench. During that time, Nate Archibald and Doc was putting on the show of a lifetime.
Okay.
The dunk that you saw the next year, the one that everybody talked about where he took off from the foul line to the top, what you call him? Right. We saw that day in the Rucker League. Mm-hmm. And Nate put up like 40-something that day, and Doc put up like 40-something that day over there. And while they was putting on the show and everybody was going crazy, even I was on the sideline taking off and putting on my sneakers and putting on my sweatpants and everything. And while everybody was over there just going crazy over them, I snuck out and left and ain't never come back no more to play Rucker League.
Nah, great story there. That's interesting, but you had a chance to play, and that probably had to be one of your thrills to even be on the same court with those guys.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
But Doc was a great player, man.
Mm-hmm. Now, we talk about best players there. What about in Essex County, just growing up? I mean, was it somebody that just stood out? Like, you know what? That's the barometer for me.
Well, if you're talking about legends, Cleo Hill was, I thought was the most natural guy that dominated the games every week down there. Mm-hmm. Even at during those times. But from a high school player, during my time, we had you had guys like I said, a guy by the name of Keys. You had the Keys brothers.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know what I'm saying? That was a whole family of great players. Mm-hmm. During that time. You had guys like Willie Jennings, that was a great player. All these guys in themselves were just great players.
Yeah. And it's interesting you mentioned Mr. Cleo Hill. I know I had actually Coach Greg Tynes, one of your Seton Hall alumni guys here. He brought him up too. He said best player he ever seen. And
Ibn, I saw him. This was in the 70s and the 80s, and he had been out of basketball like a lot of years. I walk in Essex County College one day, and this kid challenged him, and he said to the kid like, "Hey man, you don't want to play, man," and he stood like 2 feet inside a half court. And he said, "Hey, come here. I want you to throw me back the ball." He stood at half court and he made like 8 out of 10, just 2-hand set shots. Mm-hmm. Just like that, just repetition, just like this, with ease. I mean, the guy was a phenomenal. I mean, he could do a jump out of the gym.
Yeah.
jump shot was like unbelievable, could handle the basketball, and he was just physically strong.
Mm-hmm.
To me, he was like a Dr. J.
Yeah. Nah, that's what I hear. That's what I hear.
You know?
I got interest in other, just a couple, and I know. Thank you for your time too this evening. I
Okay.
know the other thing, 18-year-old Melvin Knight against an 18-year-old Reverend Knight. Who wins? 1-on-1.
18. Let me see. At 18. I was probably a little bit more physically mature, stronger than he was at that.
Okay.
At that.
Okay.
But in terms of craftiness and ball handling skills and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
he probably had a little edge on me. But overall, I think I was just from a physical standpoint, I probably was just because he was a little kid at 18.
So game to 7, who win? You win?
At that time?
Yes, at that time.
Yeah.
What's the score? What's the score?
I might give him a couple points.
You said you give it. How about 18-year-old Melvin Knight, 18-year-old Brandon Knight? Game to 7.
Well, at that age, playing me and we both at our peak, they
Yes.
both were too small. They physically wasn't strong enough to play me at that age.
Okay.
I was physically so much stronger than everybody else.
Got you. Does Brandon even score? Do you let him score?
Yeah, he would score because he's just that competitive. Brandon was like a beast, man.
Mm-hmm.
He just that determined, man.
Yeah, but you win though.
Yeah, I got to win.
Yeah.
At that time, that's not me, the father speaking. That's me, the 18-year-old.
Oh no, absolutely. That's what I wanted. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And what would this Mr. Knight, Melvin Knight, tell the teenager Melvin Knight growing up? What advice would you give him?
Hey man, I tell him, whatever you do in life, do it to the best, the absolute best of your ability. Make that commitment. Live life as you go because it's not guaranteed, but live it with respect, live it with love, and live it, man, with God in your life.
Words of wisdom, and I just want to add, Mr. Knight, just on my end, obviously great conversation, and I just appreciate it. One of the things you did talk about as far as where sports can take you. As a 13, 14-year-old, I forget the age, just even playing with you here, it took me initially first out to Vegas here. I mean, probably the year before I playing football, I wound up going, I played in Florida, championships, whatever the case is on the football side. But you continue to this time, I was like, wow, sports can get me out of Orange, New Jersey. And I just thought about that as far as just life in general. If you just apply yourself, you can see the world, and there's other things. Though New Jersey, Essex County to the core, but there's a bigger world. There's totally a bigger world out there, and I think you helped us see that. You mentioned the Rucker as you were talking. I remember you took us over to New York, to play in the tournament on one time. I forget where we were at in the city, but you took us over there one time, and I just think as far as and things that I took for granted in regards to, obviously just telling people that I played on your team or what have you, and then they'll tell stories about you as far as some of the older guys that knew of you here. I was just like, you're just my coach. But, and I noticed that even after practice, sometimes at the Y, I mean, you'll shoot some jumpers. I said, Mr. Knight's not bad. I guess some of the stuff must be true, but this even taking some of that for granted, and you talk about the teaching, you definitely was a tactician as far as wanting to teach versus the coaching. Obviously, you had the coaches, but just the teaching part, the practice was just, as far as at that age, was just still like it was learning. It was just digesting what you wanted us to do, just being, like I said, a tactician as far as wanting us to perform well, so you make your job easy later on. But I say all that to say, I really, really, like I said, appreciate just the time spent with you, and you allow me and a bunch of other guys just to, obviously be coached by you. And, again, I could talk about the obvious, as far as, with Brev and Brandon and where their lives have gone as far as, basketball, whatever. But all that starts with you. All that starts with you, just like I said, and Mrs. Knight. And I know Mrs. Knight oversees all of you guys
Yeah.
when it's all said and done. But I just say, just from the family component, as far as just you, to me here, like I said, you help, you being officially you, just help Ibn be officially Ibn here in a lot of ways. He played a nice little part in my life, and I think, just a culmination of all the coaches here. You guys are more than just coaches. Our parents entrusted you guys with us, as far as to see to it that that we were okay. Obviously, athletically, that played a part in winning games and tournaments and all that other stuff. But it was the values, things that just go unnoticed. The family man that you are, that you've always been. Things that resonate sometimes later on in life, maybe not right then and there, but all that stuff, stayed with me. And I just wanted to say, just thank you for all of that. Thank you for all that. And when I started doing this, and I mentioned to you earlier in regards to just reaching out to people athletically that, that I had a lot of admiration for. I mean, you was on my wish list, and I think it was just one of those things. And I'm, like I said, totally appreciative. One, not only this time, but what you've given me as far as just the toolage, the guidance, and just things that just you don't even have to say. I just pick up and notice, throughout the years, and even, those first, the first time meeting you here again. I really, really, like I said, appreciate all of this. It was great just to have this conversation. Things obviously I didn't even know about you here. I mean, to even learn some of that stuff here. But I just think as the person, Mr. Knight, I'm very, very like grateful to been able to spend a tiny bit of time with you throughout my life here. I'm very appreciative of that.
Hey, Evan, you know what? I think you guys realize how much we appreciated you guys, because it made it as a parent, it made it easy for us, or easier for us as a parent, because we knew where our kids were. We knew who our kids were going to be with, who our kids were going to be around. And so therefore we could entrust
Mhm.
our kids with their friends. So that was a big help in our lives in raising our kids. And at the same time, it gave us the opportunity to learn and to grow by having the opportunity to coach kids, to teach them. So it gave us a chance to grow also. So as you was growing, I was growing also. It was a learning experience for me as much as it was a learning experience for you. It might have been on a different level at that time, because I was still trying to incorporate it into work, into making a living, to get promoted, you know what I'm saying? To make a better living for my family. But all of that was coming about because you guys gave us the arena to experiment with. And so therefore it was a win-win situation all the way. And today, as I said to you earlier, it gives me so much great pride to see all the kids that are grown up now with their families and doing great things. And the one thing that I always wanted to be a part of, and I said this to almost everybody that came into contact with me, the way that I judge my success is if you are better than me. If I can't make you better than me, I kind of like miss the boat a little bit. See, each one of us should not be so ready to stick our chests out. But what we should be is said, if I had the opportunity to make somebody else better than me and I didn't do it, then I missed the boat. So that's where I felt good about, because I see these guys now, guys that grew up during my kids' era, guys that grew up after that, some of them that I had to touch during that time, and I see that they're doing so well for themselves, and I equate that to say, yes, man, that's success because they're doing better than I did. And I don't mean that in the sense of like monetary or what you
Right,
call. I
right.
mean just in the terms of growth and what you're doing and how you're raising your family and how you
Mm.
involve with your politics and how you involve with your job. That's what I mean by making you better. If you say, Mr. Knight, I enjoyed what you're doing. I said, are you doing it better than I did it? I wanted you to do it better than I did. And if you did that, then that's where my success come in.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's success.
No, that's all right. That's all right. You know, nah.
So
Again,
I just want to thank you, Evan, man, because it's been great. Like I said to you, is I was struggling there, and look, I got ice and stuff sitting on the side over here.
Yeah, you didn't have to go to it. You didn't have to go to it.
I got all of this stuff here on the side. Really got ice and stuff over here.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad we got it done, man. And I thank you for the opportunity also, man. It's you just, here I am at this stage of my life, retired, and yet, man, you're giving me value. Thank you.
Nah, no problem. And nah, thank you. And I know just a saying I heard, some time ago, as far as you engrave your name in the kids, you live forever. And you're epitome of that, Mr. Knight, as far as that, so I appreciate that. I know you got to get ready and pack some bags and go play some golf.
Yes.
Nah,
do you play golf?
Mr. Knight, I've never been on a golf course in my life. Yeah, I hear how addicting it is. Like once you get on there, I hear, obviously, Joe Jordan. I mean, Joe. Obviously, I know you. Of course, I know you know him. But now Joe, Joe told me, he's just like, even if you get out there, you're not gonna want to get off.
Yeah, I used to get with Joe a lot of time when he first started. I said, "Stay with it, Joe. You're gonna love it, man." And yeah, he got to enjoying it, man. But yeah, man, thank you so much, Evan. And I just want to wish you the best. And you always was the cerebral. You always was the cerebral guy.
Mm-hmm.
You always had your value system in order from the time I met you, man. You was always that guy that I knew was gonna was gonna do well at whatever it is that you wanted to do, man. Because you was always that committed, and that was an expectation.
Nah. Thank you, Mr. Knight, and tell Mrs. Knight send my best to her again, and no, absolutely, and tell Brev and Walter I asked about him. I know Brev told me he would actually jump on too, but I told him I need the boss of the bosses on first. So, So, but I'll connect with him down the road too. But thank you. Enjoy your trip.
All right, I will. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Knight.
Okay.
Take care.
Stay safe also, man, and be great.
Absolutely. You too. Okay. Thank you.
All righty.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Yeah. Legendary. That's all I want to say. Like I said, I appreciate Mr. Knight's time and willingness just to talk and just catch up, but also just the stories. So let's go end it on that. Put my hand over my heart. That means I feel you. That's what it is.